Hi everybody, this is Julie from Soulbridge Holistics, and today I just wanted to touch bases with you a little bit and share what exactly a Soulbridge does. So as part of my holistics journey, I do everything from holistic food, protection and growth of the microbiome in your gut to keep your body healthy, work with the energy body, which includes grounding, running, energy, Reiki healing, stuff related to your life path, which could be interpreting your soul's journey, your ephemeris, and what those transiting planets have to say about your journey. And it is true that when you're on that life path and you have had exposure during your birth point to the vibrations of those planets, it locks you in to certain kinds of patterns and predispositions and soul agreements that you agreed to before you took an earthly body. So you are a little bit locked in, and although you have free will, there are some things that may not be on your life path. John Edwards, the psychic, pointed out, yes, he can see things, and yes, he can predict things, but when he tried to go to a roulette machine and predict the numbers, he yelled out, "I see 33," and it would either be 32 or 34, and every time he said that, it would be the number next to it. And he goes, "Okay, I get it, they're not going to let me win." So there's no shortcut sometimes. So yeah, I buy lotto tickets like everybody else, but whether or not it's on my life path to actually win that lotto, and what that would do for me, I don't know. I mean, I try, I put it out there, I play like everybody else, and I wait and I get excited like everybody else, and if I'm supposed to win it, I will, and if I don't, then I guess it's not part of my life path journey right now. But I wanted to talk a little bit about our natural inclinations, because when you do the ephemeris, which I did at a previous video, I'll put a link to it at the end of this video, you do have the opportunity to choose what will be part of your journey. For example, I'll be born into a family of doctors and I'll be a doctor, or I'll be born into a family of healers and I'll be a healer. In my case, I was born into a family with a belief in spiritual stuff, but not specific religion, and inclination toward being artistic. And my own higher calling led me to study what would you call it? Parapsychology, things that are above psychology, things that cross into afterlife studies. And of course that does border on death and dying. So I have had a lot of interest in working with hospice. And I've had a lot of interest in working not specifically with medicine, because I'm not addressing working in Western terms with sick people, but in terms of holistic medicine, which is more preventative and more self-care, so that you can rejuvenate your body, curtail aging, curtail dis-ease, and from the perspective of balancing and fixing the aura, preventing disease from manifesting in your body. I will be doing a video on what the aura does more specifically, so look for that one upcoming. But I wanted to just talk about what my skills are and how Soulbridge Holistics balances my skill set with other skill sets and other things that border on what we're doing. So work with mediumship, work with tarot, work with astrology, work with natural healing, natural foods, energy balancing, Reiki. Those are all complementary to what I do. Working with raising holistic herbal medicines, working with organic crops, organic produce, complementary items in cooking that help to make healthy dishes, healthy foods. For example, cooking vegetables removes a lot of the oxalates, and I'm very sensitive to oxalates. It causes pseudo gout, which I don't know if you can see it in my finger, but these raised bumps, those raised notches, that is pseudo gout. It's crystals of stuff that get stuck in I want to say the joints, but you'll notice it first in your hand and finger joints. And so if that's you, stop eating raw vegetables that are high in oxalates. Look that up, because oxalates can be very damaging. It takes a long time for them to go away again. And cooking vegetables will cut down on the oxalates. It will break down a bunch of them. So that becomes me using my knowledge of plants and gardening to help with medicinal awareness and helping you to guard your health. The other thing is there's so much stuff that's being put in farm animals these days. Like cows are getting injections of, I guess they're trying to give them COVID vaccinations and bird flu vaccinations now. I don't know why that belongs in a cow. They're also trying to put BST, which is growth hormones, to try and get the cows to produce more milk if it's not hard enough to be a cow. So they do push the cows, and the kind of feed that they give them, sometimes it's damaging to the cow's digestive tract, so the food can be dangerous to the cows. And there's stuff that they put in chicken feed now, and there's stuff that they give to chickens, and chickens in tight quarters that are squished into tiny boxes and can't turn around or move. The kind of non-holistic, what do you call it? Just loving, caring techniques for livestock and chickens is something that's coming to be more popular now. But with farmers who are just doing massive farming and massive egg production, it's not necessarily all that good for the well-being of the animals. So I try and teach awareness of that too, that animals are very loving. They come from the angelic realm. How we care for animals and how we show compassion to animals is very important, because it says a lot about our soul growth, how we treat living things around us. The other thing that I try to be cognizant of since I've been working in social work is interacting with people who are elderly or older or starting to have health issues. And since I was working with homeless and at-risk people who had mental illness and substance use disorders, which is self-medication for the mental illness, very commonly the people that I was working with were already in poor health and had been living on the street and had manifested a lot of diseases or disease states in their body. They were aging prematurely, aging very rapidly for their physical age. A person in their 40s or 50s who looks like they're 70 or 80 already. And some of that, I think, with good diet and healthy living could have been completely preventable. But if a person has untreated mental illness and they're not eating correctly and they're abusing their bodies with substance use and they may be in really poor living conditions, that can accelerate aging, and it can also cause a cortisol dump in your third chakra and keep a person in a really high stress level, and high stress will age the body too. So I look at people who then are at the end of their lifespan. They may start passing away. I've had many clients who get to a point where they are terminally ill, especially people who, for some reason or another, have liver failure, and they're on the borderline of kidney failure, so they go into kidney dialysis to extend their lives, and they may even go into respite care, and they may even go into palliative care to help a little bit more to extend their lives, whatever they can do. When the kidney dialysis starts to reach the end of its usefulness, when all their veins are starting to leak and they're just in a lot of pain, and they just say, I think I'm done with this, I don't want to do this anymore. Understanding that when a person stops kidney dialysis, it's just a matter of time then before the residual kidney function starts to, whatever function they have left over, starts to decrease, and there's a toxic buildup in the body. And I had to tell a client, when you go off dialysis, you will start to feel sleepy. You will slowly want to sleep more, your body's going to slow down, and you're going to get into a point where you just kind of go to sleep. And at that point, they're they're going to start hallucinating. They might see the relatives coming into the room, or that angel, the one who stands by, or they might start feeling the relatives gathering on the other side. And the palliative care might help with swelling or discomfort, pain management, water retention. God bless the people who work with hospice care, because they're the ones who are medically managing those clients who are actively dying, and this active stages of dying, and the person stops bargaining and they're getting ready to actually, cross over, and they're, I had one client who's saying, why is it taking so long? It should have happened already. But she did have residual kidney function, and I tell her, it's whenever it's your time. It's not for us to say it could go faster, it could go slower. There's always a reason that you're still here, and you're still productively engaging with the world, and you still have something to share. So it's not on our timeline, but there is evidence that your point of passing away, your point of transition, is not only on your timeline, on your life path. It is written, so to speak, but you might have a shot at, an exit point, and then you decide not to do it, and 2 years later that exit point comes up again, and this time you are supposed to take it, because you can't be here forever. So at the point where a person is Xing out that exit point, and they're starting to make that transition, they're starting to get ready to cross over, there is a gathering on the other side. And the near-death experiencers, one of them described, I saw the white light and it was completely layered with angels on every side. And I passed past the angels, and they had this look of pride on their face, like, congratulations, you've accomplished something, and you're going to the next phase, right? Those angels were all present. Not everybody sees the angels. Some people can perceive that there are beings around them, but they're not sure what it is. Every crossing over, every transition is a very personal experience. Everybody does it a little bit different. Some people find themselves directly in a green field. Some find themselves in a flower garden. Some see Jesus immediately. Others just see someone from a distance. Sometimes they see their relatives approach them first. But whatever it is, the unique experience of it, everyone reports that it was just a glorious, wonderful experience where you can hear colors and see thoughts, and you have the most heightened sense of awareness, beautiful heightened senses, and suddenly you have this knowledge of everything. Everything starts to make sense. You're like, oh, I get it now. And then the minute you start to ask a question, you start to get an answer. The answers immediately come to you. And that veil of forgetfulness lifts, and suddenly you realize all those things that you had forgotten, the things you wondered about, and you ask about, the relatives you're leaving behind, and you look down and you can see them. You can see them going about their business, and you can see if people are praying for you. You get a life review. You do get a chance to determine if you're staying or going back. So all of that is answered at that time. And then you either get a chance to stay or you're sent back, which becomes then a near-death experience. At the point where you're either on this side or on that side, people either gather in prayer, which are seen on the other side as sparks of light, or mediums are gathering and they're doing readings on that person who crossed over. When the person first crosses over, especially if it was something that was rather tragic, there might be a resting point when they go into a place called Bardo, and they just kind of cocoon and they go through a healing stage, and they are kind of out of commission for a while they go through some healing. If it's a traumatic death, like for example in a world war or a really bad accident. But if it was some sort of a slow natural death, like aging out, and choosing to start the crossing over process, like my client who stopped kidney dialysis, when that person's crossing over, it might be a much peaceful, much quicker experience, and they might get to the other side pretty fast. And at that point, a medium can actually already communicate with them. Like, hey, how's it look over there? What are you doing? Sometimes you can connect to them already and get a message. Sometimes you can connect to your spirit guides who will ask you, what is that person experiencing over there? Because if the person's still disoriented and they haven't learned how to adjust to their newfound senses on that side, sometimes the medium can, relay messages from this side to the spirit and ask them, what are you doing over there? What have you done so far? How's it going? There was a medium who actually got a message from Jeffrey Epstein that he was in a pretty bad place, trying to understand why he was the kind of person he was, and that he needed to go through a lot of rehabilitation to understand that what he had been doing was pretty wrong. And so they said his life review isn't really showing a lot right now. We'll just wait a year and check in with him, later on and see how much he progresses. Because at the point where the life review is there and the person has some sort of access to their emotions, especially a sociopath, somebody who pathologically has a very limited emotional span and maybe no sense of remorse, no sense of guilt, they can do pretty abominable things on this side. And I like to say again that they're batting for Lucifer's team. And they may or may not have that ability to be rehabilitated. I've seen readings where near-death experiencer says, I may or may not come back, but if I had stayed there at this point because I was such a negative person, I didn't go up into white light. I went down into darkness and heat and found myself in something that very much looked exactly like how hell is described. And so that person was very happy to have come back. Again, the individualized experiences and the life paths that we're on, the choices that we make, are decisions for how we choose to live in darkness or in light. Lucifer gives choices. We do have the ability to live in darkness if that is our choice. And there is a whole team there, and I guess you continue to grow on that team in whatever their darkness is, working with the demons or the negative spirits there. But I'm a light worker, and I work with people who are from the light and working to bring the energy of the planet up, make people more aware, create more spiritual connection, help the transition of the planet into fifth dimension and into ascension, and create ascended awareness for everybody, which is what I want. And so I know that these are the kinds of things that we don't normally talk about in society. I mean, through the 70s and 80s, there wasn't much on that, but now it's become much more mainstream to have these kind of discussions. And of course, I've seen some comments, and you guys are always free to make comments on my videos, but I've seen some comments from people who are not from the Bay Area, and I just want to give you a heads up that if this is an unfamiliar topic to you, if it hasn't made its way around to where you live, the awareness starts in the Bay Area. We're pretty much thought leaders, and the things that we're doing do start to influence other states. It starts to influence other belief systems. It gets carried to other countries. I was in Turkey working with coffee cup readers who do really beautiful mediumship, and they're really good energy readers. I was in Morocco working with people who are very spiritual, I almost call them Bedouins, but the desert people, the Tuareg, the desert people who are so in touch with their ancestors, their culture, with holistic living. You go to the marketplace there, the souk, and you're looking at organic vegetables. Everything's organic. So the kinds of awareness that people have in different countries, it all varies, but altogether, we're a really beautiful human race. And I just wanted to share all that with you. It's kind of a little introduction to what exactly the Soulbridge tribe is, and the kind of work that we're doing, and that you're part of this. You are part of the Soul Tribe, Soul Family. And so I, again, welcome you to this channel. Please like, share, subscribe, build this channel up. Get this communication going. Get this into the mainstream. People need to hear what's going on. These should not be secret discussions or backdoor discussions or bedroom discussions. This is stuff that's relevant to every person who's alive. And where are you going next? This is not the end. They don't just put you in the ground and you know, poof, you don't exist anymore. You continue. Your life continues. Your journey continues. So you don't want to throw in the towel now, living a bad life, living a rough life, making no choices. When you have the chance to expand while you're in a physical body, make those good choices now. You carry that knowledge with you. You use it again later. Okay? Everybody have a lovely day, and I'll see you in the next video.